people are developing new technologies. Our understanding of genetics and cell growth is just amazingly advanced.
As we understand this better, we'll be able to target therapy more precisely.
We're going to change cystic fibrosis from a disease that you die from to potentially a disease that you live with.
This reprogramming technology could be a solution for many chronic diseases, such as diabetes.
This is an exciting time in medical research. Genetic findings and new discoveries seemingly every day. And for many of these discoveries, there is often one common thread: the study of human tissue. And that is where our story begins, with NDRI, gathering the resources for people to donate so that researchers can discover and hopefully find cures. NDRI.
You can't discover anything unless you have the right tissues and cells to work with.
We needed to use human material for all of our research. Only the human skin reflects all the characteristics of the environment a tumor grows into.
I study stem cells that make blood, and so I've for years been able to get from NDRI a very constant supply of blood stem cells. The most important contribution that NDRI makes is their ability to reach out into the community and acquire tissues to help drug discovery efforts.
When Lee Ducat founded NDRI in 1980, their sole mission was to provide islet cells for diabetes research. Since then, the group has grown, and today they are the leading national organization that connects donated human tissue with the research scientists who need it to develop new therapies and cures for human disease. They now serve almost every disease imaginable, in ever-growing numbers. The most recent count was an inventory of more than 200,000 samples available for instant access. Each year, 20,000 total biomaterials of all kinds are distributed to more than 500 researchers at 245 research centers.
The growth of NDRI means to the average researcher that he can get just about any tissue of the human body that he needs for his studies prepared exactly and processed exactly the way he needs it, which saves him an enormous amount of time.
NDRI has built up an impressive list of partnerships with organ donor banks, medical centers, almost 200 sources throughout the country to provide the much-needed tissues.
When we're screening a donor for transplant and a disease or a disorder comes up that the screeners have never heard of before, two thoughts pop into their head. One is, whatever this is, it's probably going to rule them out as a transplant donor, but the second thought is, call NDRI and find out what researchers out there want tissues from this particular disease.
By working with NDRI, we're able to provide more tissue to researchers throughout the country, which we wouldn't be able to do as a small eye bank.
From sources like these, NDRI is able to supply tissue, including thousands of cancer tumor samples each year, helping support some of the most important cancer studies in the country. For Dr. Meinhard Herrlin, his 30 years of research on cancer tumor growth has now developed into working on new therapies for cancer, thanks to donated human tissue.
The first tumors where that was found that we can disrupt the circuitry and cure the tumor was in leukemia, where just one drug can kill that tumor and cure the patient. NDRI is most critical for independent research institutions, and there are several of these in the United States. They are dependent on NDRI for its supply of tissue material.
Today, researchers also have access to NDRI's comprehensive pan-cancer tissue microarray.
It's a fine-tuned little slide which contains the tissues of 300 tumors. That helps us drive our research where we will go with the next step. Is this a good diagnostic gene? Can we do early detection of the disease? Or could this gene even be targeted for therapy? These cells are talking to us through these tissue arrays that we get from NDRI.
Other disease groups serviced by NDRI include cystic fibrosis.
The CF Foundation was in need of lungs so that we could derive cells from them. We ourselves couldn't go out and get those lungs and process them, but NDRI was capable of doing that.
And diabetes.
We procure pancreas and we send them to leading academic institutions that isolate islets, both for transplant and for research. And they're doing a whole bunch of very, very exciting studies looking at how the immune response kills the islet cells, or looking at gene expression in islet cells.
So the opportunity to study islets, beta cells, alpha cells, delta cells, and other cells in both healthy people and diabetic individuals at a variety of times when tissues become available has been an enormous advance, and NDRI has pioneered that.
At present, the genetics division of NDRI, which is called HBDI, has 500 plus immortalized families that are multiplex that have at least 2 diabetics. The immortalization of a family provides the DNA and cell lines for scientists all over the world to study X or Y family.
For many scientists, the speed of tissue recovery can be essential.
Very short intervals of death preservation are very important, specifically because it captures more of a true picture of what normal or diseased tissue looks like. Specimens are promptly removed and preserved according to the scientists' protocols, so that specimen preservation can be achieved in under 4 hours.
Faster procurement and a larger selection. The role that NDRI plays in science today has grown tremendously with the number of tissues, derivatives, and programs they provide, including being the only national tissue resource group to supply HIV donor tissue.
What excites me most is the constant interaction with the scientist, the amazing aha moment where a scientist discovers something and publishes.
And over 100 medical papers are published every year from projects tied to NDRI's involvement. To make it easier for those researchers to find the materials they need, the online biospecimen catalog was created by NDRI, where over 6,000 samples are available right on the internet.
To have a catalog, in effect, available on the internet, and you can look it up and see if the tissue is available, certainly makes the difficult job of a researcher a lot easier.
NDRI is like a clearinghouse. NDRI does the legwork of vetting the research. So they keep a bank of hundreds of researchers in appropriate projects that you can then file your tissues into when you have a donor.
Exciting work is also being done with the expansion of the National Rare Disease Biospecimen Resource, where tissues representing 93 rare diseases were procured. Now, NDRI is partnering with voluntary health organizations, or VHOs.
There are 25 million Americans who suffer from one of 6,000 rare diseases, and that number, 25 million, doesn't include their loved ones, family, or friends.
Amy Farber was diagnosed with LAM 2 years ago.
LAM is a multi-system disease affecting the kidney, the lymphatic system, and the lungs. It tends to be fatal in the lungs. Women progress to respiratory failure within a few years. I received this diagnosis of LAM and was told basically to come back when I couldn't breathe. I formed the LAM Treatment Alliance in 2005. We're exclusively dedicated to fast-tracking a treatment for this disease.
Joyce Graff, founder of the VHL Family Alliance, was one of the first VHOs to partner with NDRI in this new endeavor.
We work with people with von Hippel-Lindau disease. It's called VHL. And this is one bitty little misspelling in one gene in the body. There's still no cure for VHL, but we know so much more about how to diagnose it and how to live with it that it's truly amazing. And it's only through research that we're going to find that.
NDRI is the perfect partner, and I can't understate how vital they are to this mission. It's mission critical. It's life-saving.
Donate. None of these research endeavors could continue without the donation of human tissue. Today, NDRI is reaching out to those undergoing surgery or giving birth to a baby, helping them understand that we each have the power to impact science during our lifetime.
You know, whenever we have surgery or if you have a baby, there's a certain amount of tissue that's not needed anymore. Where does that tissue go? Well, often it goes into a little bucket and it gets thrown away. If you could donate that tissue to advance the research on your condition or other people's conditions and make life better for people in the future, why would you not want to do that?
When someone donates a heart, one person gets a heart and it saves that life, and that's a great thing. But if someone were to donate for research and diabetes or a type of cancer were to be cured, millions of people would be helped by that.
Discoveries leading to treatment.
It's only then, when you have these tissues and cells, which NDRI can get for you, that you're going to be able to make the discoveries that are relevant to treatment.
NDRI, playing an integral part in the medical discoveries of tomorrow.
We couldn't do this on our own. There's no way with the technical expertise that we have. The communication, I've actually been very pleased with that. They're willing to call me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and as a scientist, I enjoy that because, my mind is always going anyway.
Cure. For so many, this is their greatest hope.
We've been successful. We have 2 compounds in drug development, and so we think that we are on the way towards a cure for CF.
NDRI is for us the important link between the clinics and the laboratory, and we are quite optimistic that we are moving closer towards a cure.
NDRI has been a partner in our research for 15 years. As a matter of fact, I probably would have chosen a different avenue of research to do if I hadn't had NDRI to help us along.
NDRI. We all have the power to make a difference.
My hope for the future lies in bringing targeted drug development for new drugs, better drugs, more effective drugs with less side effects, and always for the cure.
The time has come now when it's becoming more real that we'll really be able to do something major in terms of prevention and cures. So that's the excitement we have.
Call NDRI.
NDRI is very instrumental in this
Where
way.
NDRI has always had a major role.
Donate some of the tissue to NDRI.
Without them, we would be stopped in our tracks, and the goal is to stop the disease in its tracks, and I believe they're committed partners, and that gives me the goosebumps.